still don't see it on my phone.
Wait, hang on. I think it might be. I had to hit a button that said go live. I wasn't live. But I thought I was live.
So are we live now?
I don't think we're live yet. Oh, we're live. It happened. It worked. Okay.
Is it
I think
live?
so. I see it. It's on my phone.
Oh yay, I see it now. Oh
Okay, we're live.
We're good, yay.
Thanks for everybody's patience. Everybody's been so patient in this process of us trying to go live. I really I've received a few really nice messages.
Technology is never on our side.
I am not an IT person by any means. Hi everybody. Oh, you think it's easy. It's
I was like, it's been how many times have we done this now? It should be easier. No.
For me it's now I think we're 4 or 5. So I should it's almost like I should be a pro, but I'm not.
Every time there's a new problem.
Anyway, we're good. We're ready to start. I always get so because it's such a weird startup. I never know how to like get back on track. I hope everybody had a really nice weekend. We can I'll talk about those kinds of things in a minute. I hurt myself, so I'm willing to show the battle scars. But today we've got our good friend Michelle Zhu helping us again. Doing some design cleanup. So if you saw our first chat, we had major lag issues, and we fixed our major lag issues. And then we had major audio issues. How's our audio? I feel like it's fine. I think that we've really solved our audio issues. Please let us know. And then the last we're just coming into all these mistakes as they happen. So last time it was we lost audio with Alex. Or I lost audio with Alex. I think that if that happens again, we'll be able to pivot pretty easily. And then today it was going live. So yes, Alice is hitting the live button.
Today was the button problem. We had a button issue. Oh no. Okay, stop hurting yourself. Let's bring it back in.
I really hurt myself.
Yeah, what happened there?
I fell down some stairs on my way to go stand up paddleboarding, and my arm and my leg is pretty chewed up. And it's okay. It's not anything bad. It's not. I'm actually really lucky I didn't hurt myself a lot more. But it's like it's a big wide scrape. It's like a big patch of my skin. It's just torn off, and so I'm trying to let it scab over, and I want it to heal, but I keep hitting it, and that's or my clothes rub against it. That's the worst part.
You don't want to put like some, I don't know, Band-Aid over. Okay, yeah, because you want it to heal. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the best course of action is. I want it to heal, but I also want it to not be painful, and yeah.
So it will just take time.
Yes. And today's day 1, so it's the worst of the worst. But yeah. How was your weekend, Michelle? Was it good? Was it exciting?
Weekend was fine. I didn't hurt myself.
It's for the best. I'm glad.
It was good. It was did a lot of cleaning. Took my car for a wash, and now it's raining, so I wash it again tonight.
You brought the weather. You brought the weather for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So well, let's talk a little bit about what it is that you're going to do today, because
Yeah, so what we're doing today is to create the props for the little p of our character. So with um from the storyboards, hope I think everyone have seen it before. What we're doing with our little p is first the curtain's gonna be closed, and then the curtain's gonna be open, and then we have a reveal of our characters on stage. So what we're doing today is we're making the curtains a prop, so we can animate it to we can rig it and animate it to open. So what I have here right now is first of all, I have the storyboards that I put in. It's important, and then I have the background design that our lovely other instructor has provided. So, and then they already have a layer for the curtains. It's just it's nice against the background, but if we put a character in front of it, and then our characters lining up, yeah, she's so cute. Our characters lined up um, with the position where it needs to be in the storyboard. If we bring it next to the current curtain, the background curtain, the line weight is not um, the same as the character, so we need to thicken it and also um, adjust it a little bit so it's useful for as props. So what? Let me know if I'm going too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No
No
worries.
worries. Yeah. What I did right now to start is I opened the file for like a design template. I put the background in there. That is like a pre-prep that we did. I put the storyboard in. I put the character in. That's a already cleaned up character. So we're wanted to do is we want to match the line weight of the character, and then I just put like a blank um, layer on so I can actually see through it what I'm doing underneath. And then what I have done before is I went ahead and cleaned it up a little bit for the final version, for it's already entirely open. And I think we what I want to discuss with Lindsay is you see those two ropes
Yeah.
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I already know what you're gonna say.
I
I
already
already
see it.
see it.
Yeah, so like the rope idea, it's good because you create like a two different color contrast
Mm-hmm.
with the with our props, but the problem is like we don't have um an animation of the rope going around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the curtain is all the way down, the rope is not going to be there. So when we drag it onto each side, I'm thinking like, how do we magically put the rope on?
This has been
This has
this has
honestly
honestly
been this
been
has
this
come
has
up
come
in
up in
multiple
multiple
classes and
classes and
multiple
multiple
questions,
questions,
and
and
we don't
we
have
don't
an
have an
answer.
answer.
Cartoon magic.
It's
It's
cartoon
cartoon
magic.
magic.
We
We
either
either
go
go
cartoon
cartoon
magic
magic
or
or
we,
we,
because
because
I
I
there's a
there's a
part of me
part of me
that's
that's
like,
like,
just
just
pretend it's a
pretend it's a
rubber
rubber
band.
band.
Just
Just
let it let it
let
be
it be
there.
there.
Torrance said
Torrin
the
said the
same
same
thing.
thing.
So I
So
don't
I don't
know.
know,
Like
like
for the
for the
exact
exact
and the
and the
lines are
lines are
too
too
small.
small.
So
So
even
even
if
if
we
we
were
were
to
to
keep
keep
it,
it, it would have to be
one
one
rope
rope
instead of.
instead of. I
I
think
think
it
it
would
would
have
have
to
to
be
be
one
one rope
rope
instead of
instead of
two
two
small
small
ropes.
ropes.
Yeah.
Um,
So what we could do is we can add an animation of the rope just wrap around itself. So we're doing like a long rope as prop as well, and then you could wrap it. But
if
If
you
you
if
if
when we
when
go
we
to
go
the
to the
curtains
curtains
closed,
closed,
what would
what
it
would
look
it look
like?
like?
Because
Because
right
right
now
now
it's
it's
scalloped,
scallops,
but do
but
we
do
want
we
to
want to
keep the
keep the
scallop?
scallop?
Would it
Would
if
it,
the
if the
curtains are
curtains are
closed?
closed?
Um,
Um,
do we
uh,
do
do we
do we
do we
do
want
we
to
want to
just
just
get
get
rid
rid
of
of
it?
it?
Do we
Do we
just want
just
to
want
get
to
rid
get
of
rid
it?
of it?
the
What does
rope.
the chat say?
It's way easier if we, and logically makes more sense if we get rid of it, because you can think of it as like in reality like how the curtain's gonna open itself and then like tied itself up on each side, right? Like we could think of it as like there's a person in the back that is doing all the work with the polling.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
But the
if
wrap around part, it's the
what if instead of doing the ropes that are like this, we do some sort of detail where it's almost like you know what an Irish knot is? You know what I mean when I say that? Like a Celtic knot?
I can Google it.
Yeah. But what if we do some sort of detail that just it's kind of like a button with tassels. And then that way
Yeah.
and then that way if we wanted to animate like a really nice, like if it was to open, we could almost have like some after.
Yeah.
I think having something there that separates, so it's not just a red screen is important, if that makes sense. But I don't think it needs
Like
much.
the detail there, it's nice because it gives you two different colors of contrast. Kind of like brings the focal point on the stage, but like the most difficult part is like how are we doing this? So are we thinking of like a button kind of in here and then to wrap around it like this so like it hooks over?
I wasn't even thinking that. No, I was instead of doing the horizontal swoop, we just go vertical, where it's just like you put that button in the center, like on the left. I don't know if it's on the left or the right, but on the other side, not the center, on the side, like towards the middle, towards the middle of center stage. No, other way. Other way. Make it smaller, yeah. And then from there a tassel. And then that way it just marks the center. And so as the things, when the things open, we can do like a fun, like a swoop of the tassel. I don't know. Can you draw a tassel? Draw like a little, a fun little.
Like
This is how you design things, everybody. This is concept art.
some tassels in here.
I hope you're following our high concepts.
Yeah,
exactly. What if we just something simple like that? And then
something like this?
Yes, but without the without it going around at all. It's just like, and then that way I don't know.
Let me think of this.
The tassels could even be a little longer so that they don't drag on the floor, but that'll give them the drag for any secondary action or overlap.
Is it these ones that you're thinking?
Yes, but if we just didn't have the rope.
Oh, just the knot.
Yeah. Like would that be enough? Do you think?
I think that would. I don't know. Let's see what it looks like.
I'm excited to. I'm actually really excited to build these curtains in Harmony or for Damon to do it actually. But
so if we only have the knot in there, it would kind of look something like this.
Yeah. And I would just say make those tassels longer so they're almost hitting the floor.
Yeah.
But dragging on the floor. Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Fun.
So
we gotta change it as well.
Yeah. Then we have to bring the curtains like over here probably because you get all these like empty space that it's not.
We'll have the. I mean that or the because it'll still bunch. The curtains would still bunch.
Yeah. So we probably would have to like bring the curtains like over here and then bring the button. Oops. Bring the button. Okay. Like in here, maybe. If it looks okay. Longer tassels. What does everyone think? Do we like this? And then you bundle up a little bit here. And then how would the button magically appear? Oh, it's already there.
Yeah, we don't have to get rid of it. It's just that will be like the mechanism that technically grabs it.
Yeah, so the open part
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And you I see.
Instead of having, and then that way all of the mechanics are hidden in the back. And then if we ever want to show the inside of the curtain,
Yeah. I think it could work. We're gonna try it out.
that way we don't have to. Because I don't think it's. I think that it can be done in harmony where if we keep the original design with the original rope, like we can with the different. We have to do drawing swaps, but then we use deformers to just kind of make it look like it's like on a long band that
Yeah.
it's just stretching and restretching and it's just gathering like
Because
so
all
like either way I think it would work.
yeah, I think what with the other way, if just a rope, then it would be like one long one, and then
Yeah.
when you go to animate it, it would just be like,
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
so that could work too. Like this probably looks better than the knot part because or actually no, the knot part looks good too, but we can start by doing this first, and if you want to add the knot at the end, be like
I think they're both doable.
yeah.
They're and to be honest, they're both pretty easy. It's just a I think it's a matter of like just going for it. And if it doesn't work too, we would just mix it in builds. If it didn't look good, we would just say this doesn't look good. We're not building it. And I happen to know the people that are creating the short, so I think they'll have approval. Instant approval.
Yeah. Well, this having the knot makes it more fancy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks less like a student built.
And also too, because I know the technology were today, if you only focus on one curtain, we're going to use static transformations for the other one. So we really only have to design half of it closing. Obviously, it's a duplication for you, but yeah.
Do we want left and right curtains exactly the same? Because if it stays long, if it stays really long on screen, you people are gonna pick up like it's just a copy and paste
Mm-hmm.
symmetry. So I tend to try to avoid anything that stayed on stage too long. It's like a direct copy of something else.
Okay, go for it. Do your thing. You're in charge.
Okay. Let's do no button first. The button we can add in anytime.
Yeah, and once we build, it's like it's a one image thing. So
yeah.
if we build the button, then it would be very easy to
drag it with it. So what I'm fixing right now, it's the rope because we did a 2 rope before, but now it's better to have 1, so we're gonna change it to a 1 rope. So what I'm doing now is just move the rope that I had before away and then draw a new one. And also just keep in mind with the line weight that was with the surrounding. If you're having difficulties of like drawing what's it called circles or any thing that wraps around. You can move your screen and then move it around, and then however it's easier on your hands and wrists. And then you can also come here, use the wrap tool, drag it a little bit, but not a lot, because it changes the line weight and it also makes it lower quality. But it helps to add a little bit of reality, like the gravity pull that we couldn't do it right away with hand drawn. And I think that it's probably okay for rough. And then we'll go and clean it up again. Yeah, a rope. Good, very good. Let me know if you have any questions or want me to slow down.
No,
You're good. I was just checking our audio because we got a comment saying that it's a little bit echoey, but I don't know. It's not as bad as it has been in the past. I think it's mostly room noise.
No.
Yeah,
we're
we're not professional YouTubers. We're professional animators.
We need a professional.
Give us some slack.
Yeah. So
do you need to increase the line thickness though compared to the character?
I drew the curtain matching the thickness.
Oh, okay, you did already. Okay,
yeah. So I'm just matching the line weight of the curtain. Yeah. And our P, he's really cute. He has a bunch of different line weights, so I just match the kind of like in between his arm and his body.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our one singular rope, and then I just go and clean up the spills. Anything that it's like out the color that it's outside of our main line, we call it the spills. And then I go back and fix a little bit of it, and then yeah, this is our new curtain, and with one rope. And now I'm gonna come here, just as I said, like, yeah, let's try to avoid a symmetry. And we're gonna copy and duplicate, drag it over there. It's something so
we have ways to do it too. Because what we do is because
obviously nobody wants twinning. But when we copy, because we use static transformations, and what that does is it allows us to rig half the body in half the time. So we focus on half, and then when we flip it, there's ways to flip it so that you're either creating a complete duplicate, or you can create a new one and kind of change the artwork. So we would do it manually. That's why I'm like, you could actually save time, because we know that we're not going to. We'll change it enough. Like we'll use the overall shape, but then we would probably change the interior lines.
I think that's what makes it more obvious. Like the shape of it, you can stay the same. It's just the lines that it's inside. Yeah. Cool. All right, we're good with the new curtain. I'm just gonna change it a different color on my Photoshop file so it's easier for me. Where did my white go?
We just got a question about line weight and consistency, and it's 100% the number one reason where things could go wrong. So it's very important.
100%.
Very important. So that your characters and your backgrounds, we are constantly checking to make sure that line weight is, and there's so many ways to prevent any issues with your line weights, especially when you go from Harmony and Photoshop, because a paintbrush thickness of 10 in Photoshop is not a paintbrush thickness of 10 in Harmony. So you have to create whatever line width you have in Photoshop, and then you have to bring that into Harmony. Make sure your design is accurately scaled, which is why we have so much reference involved, especially in designs. That's why we have our character design sheets, our prop design sheets. Everything is built on scale, on model. When there's no comparison, there's such a big issue, and so we're constantly sending designs back to be like, we need this, we need the scale, we need the reference, we need to make sure that we built this prop so it looks good in the character's hands. And so it's constantly making sure that those line qualities are good. If you scale up a prop in Harmony, the lines get bigger and it looks worse. So these are all things that we're constant. Every time we start something new, we have to make sure that we check to make sure that our line thicknesses are good.
Yeah.
What's it like on your end in the design department? Like, because that's a hard, like that's more of a build perspective. But what's it like from the design side for line thickness?
For design side, we
like how do your how would all the designers know how to match the brush widths?
We mostly just match the cleaned up character.
Okay.
We try to match it as close as possible, but like you said, the brush size is different in Harmony. It's more crisp too in Harmony, so Photoshop have like a little bit fuzzy edges, so which sometimes makes it look like it's wider than it is. But if we use a brush that has no edge fuzz or like the blur on the edge, it doesn't look good. Yeah, it looks really low quality, so we kind of just have to use it. But I think it's just trying to keep it consistent. If we already have some approved props, we want to like drop it in to match that line weight, and or when we build the Bible, we would list it of like which brush to use and what size to use, and it's tapered or not tapered. Those are the things that could be included in the design package when we hand it over to artists and stuff. Yeah, I think the most important part is like constantly check with the character. Yeah. Okay. So we got the final form of the curtain kind of done. I'm gonna call it stage 3. Ooh, I set 3 and I type 2. And now I'm changing it to a different color and lock it. So now when we're looking at the storyboards again, there is the part of the curtain completely closed, and there's a part of it slowly dragging. So here's a question for Lindsay for builds. When you like, how do you want us to design this? Is it okay we just draw if we have the one that is completely open and then you put a deformer of it to drag, or do you want us to do like different stages?
I think that if you give us this, I think with this design, this is the only stage we need. I don't, what we'll probably do in builds, what we would probably do in builds, if I was building this prop, I would build it closed. So the closed one, I would make the most, like I would build it in sequential, but I would assume the animator wants the tools to do the work. So I would probably create it closed like this, set up everything with deformers, and then I would most likely see if I could get it to deform into as close as possible into that halfway pose. And then also the open, like totally opened. But that means that I don't know if we would hit the designs perfectly, because once we start to use the tools to do the work, we can't match the design perfectly unless we're doing drawing swaps, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Because I'm not sure if everybody understand what we just said. uh,
okay, wait. Can everybody hear? I just fixed one of the. I may have fixed one of the audio problems. So let me know if it's still if you can still hear us both. Okay.
yeah, let's for example, if this is like a already finished curtain that it's
Mhm.
completely open, when you put your rakes, I assume that it's probably like this whole sheet is gonna
Yeah.
be entire surface, and then when you go to add your um I'm guessing those are points. Those little points that you can actually drag and animate. Is that what I'm thinking?
I think so.
Yeah. So
Um,
kind of like this looks like, right? After you build it, and then these are the points that you can bring in to warp or to animate.
yes, we are doing that. Yes, that's what we're doing.
Okay. So that's what we're talking about. But when Lindsay said that when we couldn't match the design 100%, it's when if we're only using the completely open one as one image, and then whatever we do over it, it would just stay in that shape, in that design. Like if I put, oops, why am I making noise? So if I put some lines on this curtain,
Yeah, and we're going to use separate deformers for the lines versus the curtain itself. They will be totally separated. So what we're going to probably do is create another deformer for those lines that exactly like that.
yeah.
It's like similar to that. That's probably what we're going to be doing.
So the line itself, it wouldn't like it wouldn't magically appear like a new line. It would just stay whatever that we have been giving her.
Yeah, unless if we wanted a new line to form, we would create a secondary line and then it would just we would just turn the drawing on.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we can flip through drawings. Um and we can have repeating drawings if that makes sense. We could have like main lines and then detailed lines if we wanted to but that's like a fancy trick. That would be like
Let's
on
do
TV. That's an Apple. We would do that for Apple. We
that's a
don't do that for
feature.
everybody.
Let's do that for
And
Apple.
actually, if I'm being really honest, if we were doing this for Apple, we would just put deformer. Every line would have its own little drawing, and there would be a deformer on each one of those little lines,
It's
and
gonna
that
be
is the
3D.
difference.
We're doing it in 3D for Apple.
Yeah, yeah. If this was going to be shown on Apple TV, hey Apple TV, um,
Shout out, please.
shout out.
And how do you?
Um,
And it's the
yeah,
same
that would be the
with
difference.
shadows and is it the same as shadow and lightings?
If you wanted to, so obviously what we're going to do is we're going to try and cheat at first. So
Yeah.
we would probably keep them all on one drawing. So if you were to add a shadow and a highlight, and a line, if they were all kind of connected, we would try to keep them all in one drawing layer, and then that way one deformer controls them all.
Mm.
But if it was Apple or Netflix, Netflix, um,
Shout out.
HBO, Crave. We might even have to create separate drawings for the shadow, the highlight, and the line, and then create separate deformers for each one of those. And then we peg up to have one peg that controlled three things individually. Um, and then that way animators would have total control. That would also help for compositing if compositing wanted to get in there. That would mainly be the reason why you would do that. You wouldn't do that to help animators. You'd be doing that. You'd be separating things on like those mass scales more for compositing and lighting tricks at that point. It would be a nightmare to animate.
Yeah.
But
So
you would just know, peg up to get the whole thing, and then you use performers.
so long story short, it's a budget.
It's all budget. It's all time. How much do we? And we'll always try to shortcut it, and then we'll see if it works. And then if it doesn't work, we'll go the extra mile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Do we see any questions?
No, we've solved the audio issue. That
Oh,
was good.
yay.
We did have two. I had two mics on. I don't know which one, so I think it was just picking up. Something was just picking up my speakers.
Okay, cool. So do we want to keep the scallop? I don't think we need it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think. No, I think the scallop would be really hard.
Yeah, one is gonna be hard for props and for rig. It's also like it's kind of like repetitive from a design standpoint, because we got scallops here and then we put another one there. It kind of just looks like it's like blah, blah, blah. Like you don't want to make that many kind of like staircase for the design.
Tell us. I mean, we're gonna add something, so it's gonna look a little staircasey, but
okay. That if it's what the higher up ones, we can add anything. So yeah, let's try to, because we don't have a design for the open all the way curtain, so we're just gonna like do one.
Here's a good question. Here's a fun question.
Yeah,
I like this one. What? And I'm excited to hear the answer because I have a feeling it's gonna be a little shocking. But what's the minimum amount of mistake you can get away with in a professional background work?
Oh, minimum if you don't get caught.
Yeah, it's really if you don't get caught, if nobody notices. And that usually happens when there's heavy deadlines and low budgets.
Yeah. From a supervisor perspective, you want to minimum as many mistake as possible, because if you make a mistake and we don't correct it, it trickles down to pipelines, and then it might get caught at the very end, and then now it's like, oh, you have to go all the way back to fix it, because everything that you do from your stage, it might affect people down the pipeline. So we try to avoid it as much as possible, but then again, small mistakes that could be fixed in the department after us. Like, let's say if I made a mistake in here, that I don't close my curtains, but when builds come in, they're gonna close it. So little things are okay. I don't think we have a number of like how many can I make.
yeah, there's definitely no number. It's literally about what you can get away with, and it's an art form.
Like, but yeah, from like an artist's perspective, from like a production perspective, you don't want to make things that looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on screen, because it's gonna haunt you if you if you start noticing your mistake on screen. It's gonna haunt you, and you'll be like, why did I not fix that one line that was there?
This is when I talk to professionals too who watch cartoons. Like you watch cartoons totally different. Like once you start to learn to see what it is that you're looking for, which is part of the practice. When you are watching professional cartoons and you see a mistake, it's almost exciting.
Yeah. It's never the same if you go watch cartoons anymore. You're like, oh yeah, that's not supposed to be there. Oh yeah, they cheated on that one. It's kind of, it ruins it a little bit, but it's kind of fun that you can catch it. But yeah, anyway, so I guess just like a little tips of drawing curtains. You have to remember the weight of a curtain. It's a stage curtain, so it's pretty heavy. So I think a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but I think some people would think that like, oh, what are these lines for? I can just draw whatever. But like in reality, if you look at a curtain, every line that we draw represents a shadow of where the fold is. So these line actually has a purpose that it, if I'm gonna draw it all the way, this is one fold in here, and then this one, if this line comes down here, this is makes another fold, and then you just add like a little small ones here and there. But if you think of it, when a curtain is completely open and it's heavy, it won't make that much small folds. It would be really stretched out and it's bottom heavy. So all these like little edges that you make, it needs to feel like there's weight to it. So like these lines that I drew, it's like really light, like all these ones compared to these one. These one look like there's actually, it's pressing down, but this part looks like it's just floating. So it depends on what kind of curtain you're designing. Like this is pretty good for like curtain, um, cotton, like light cotton probably, and this is more believable if it's like a heavy theater curtain. Just something a little bit to keep in mind when you do the design. So, but this is a rough, so we can like rough it a little bit. And you want to probably avoid like too what is it called, too evenly spacing, because that's not that interesting. So you can make a bigger, like this one bigger fold, and then a smaller one, and then like a medium sized one, and then another small one, and then a big one. So because when you come here and you draw the lines for them, they're not just like the.
I think that I I think that just like what you're saying right now, it's so interesting, and it's really the art of noticing,
Yeah.
which is probably one of the skills that is so hard for artists. And I mean, I'm a good noticer, but I can't draw it. I can't translate it into my hand, which is a completely different skill. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, a lot. I think a lot
it's
of it
interesting.
comes from just like, yeah, like observing, like, or have, I think being curious of how, like, why these things are why things are like that in a certain way. It's also important because you want to like figure out, like, okay, why is the curtain folding like this and not folding like the other way around? Like, then you try to like find out the answer. Like, oh yeah, because there's gravity pulling it, because there's line weight to it, weights to it, all that. So that's, yeah, also helpful to just be.
Yeah, because we got another. Actually, I have a question before I answer the. We have another question, but I have a question before I ask that question.
Yeah.
Because I think it leads up to the next question. How much life drawing did you do, or like cafe drawing? Like, were you the type of person that would always go somewhere and draw? Because I know that I've known you for a long time, but I don't actually know that I've known that you've ever been that person. But I don't know
So
you that well, so
yeah,
maybe you were.
I used to go cafe. Oh, so life drawing and cafe drawing are two different things to me. Cafe
Mhm.
drawing, it's like you go out in a public, maybe by yourself, but for me, usually it's like a group of friends that like, oh yeah, you want to go cafe drawing. For me, it's like my brain doesn't function when I'm drawing and socializing.
Mhm.
So I don't, when I go cafe drawing, I'm there to socialize. So I don't really go cafe drawing that much because when I really want to produce art, I'm more just like wired in. I don't
Mhm.
um, I can draw and talk in the same time.
It
Well,
shows. No, just kidding.
yeah. I feel like sometimes, yeah, you would
And it
notice.
goes all over the place. Gibby is a drawing talking machine. Like he's like he needs. It's like almost like he needs to talk to draw. It's so opposite.
It
It's
happens.
so
Yeah,
interesting how everybody's brains work and how drawing is really like it becomes a tool for people to pay attention
yeah.
and how that happens. I couldn't draw and talk. I couldn't really rig and talk. I have to.
Yeah,
I'm on your side.
yeah, exactly. So when you notice me, like when I went quiet, because I was like,
Which is fine, yeah, because and then I can start talking too, so it's
yeah,
totally fine. That's why I like doing these talks with multiple people because it's hard. It was harder for me to rig along by myself,
yeah.
but if somebody was there talking for me to fill in those empty gaps, I always thought that that would have been better.
Yeah.
Um,
And the life drawing part, life drawing is different because you pay to go there to do life drawing. So and how many did I do? A lot back in school. And then when I came to Vancouver, because school it's already included in tuition, it's free. So when I came to Vancouver, I have to pay per session. So I didn't really do that much. I think I went twice, and then back in the I think a while ago, Atomic had a life drawing session. They brought in
mhm.
models and stuff with clothes. So we did life drawing um, in the studio, which is pretty fun. It's all these like small activities a studio can bring in and do. It's pretty good. So not after a while, I stopped doing life drawing because
Mhm.
money. And what was the other question? That was
The other question is, uh, the other question
is
is more about props. Like they're asking a little bit about props, and this is honestly something that I've noticed too. Like people don't we spend so much time talking about characters and
mm.
not props, and I think there's a huge misconception that props are easy because it's just a prop. And you know what? Props are not easy.
They're
I
not
think that props are harder than characters sometimes.
sometimes,
Um,
yeah, because
you have
prop
to
you,
learn.
yeah, like character, it's also not easy, but props is like you need to be more aware of how it's going to be used, so you can't just do whatever you want. There's certain
Mhm.
angles depending on storyboards,
Yeah.
and there's a certain ways like when we talk to a rigger or like the rig department, like what it's a limitation that they can do, so we need to provide. So that's like something more than characters that we well something different than characters that we need to think of. And um yeah, some people think that props are boring or not as fun as character. Props are really fun.
Props are really fun. And also like I think when you're first starting out, you don't want to. I always see this. I always see that people who are starting out, they don't want to draw the same thing twice.
Yeah,
But when you're working on a show, you're going to draw the same thing a million times from a whole bunch of different angles.
yeah,
And so that's really a lesson that you kind of have to start practicing. And that's, I mean, I hope that we put out that kind of a lesson.
yeah.
Um, but to learn, I don't know if there's a place where you can learn props. Hopefully, we become that place.
Really.
But this curtain alone is an example of something that I don't. We have to build this stuff often, and you don't know you don't really know until you get into a production and like once you become a builder or a designer. I don't think there's ever been like I'm sure there's cloth classes but
Fabricate
and fabric classes, but it's
wall.
like you probably have to take a fashion um, a drawing class like specifically tailored to fashion to really understand how to like draw and translate the weight of the fabric is like what you mentioned, like to notice those kinds of things. Or when you get into production and then you're working with people that already have that skill of like, I need you to make it look more heavy. What does that mean? And what you just said, where it's like when you gave a little demo of like, this is the fold, this is the weight of the fold. You can't really learn that anywhere. Like I said, like the only thing I can think of is like a fashion design fabric class.
I think a lot of it is just like, just go touch it. If you can, just go touch it. Like, why? Yeah, like, be curious of how certain things are, like, why is it doing this? Like, what material is it? What's the science behind it? It's a lot of like trying to figure out a puzzle, like why these folds are doing. It's kind of like same as lighting as well. Like, why is certain lighting at a certain angle hitting an object, creating a shadow that's doing this, and why is it like or kind of like special effects as well, like why is the water hitting the rock when there's splashes coming out? Why is it less? Why is it more?
I mean, this is why I think we all love animation, because we start to think like that. Like this is once you start to really think about the details that are involved in every little aspect. And if you wanted to continue, I think there's a natural path to continue into feature films. So if you start your own versus if you start your own YouTube channel and you do your own productions, I can't get over how cute this pea is on stage.
Yeah.
Then you go to television, and then you go to feature film. Each one is going to have a brand new level of detail that you're going to have to learn how to notice, because everything's going to do different things. The reason why I think characters are easier than props is because you are a human, you are a character, you know how your body moves, and your body moves almost exactly like other people's bodies. The difference being people with disabilities. Then you would really have to start thinking, okay, like in the sense of a prop, because in a prop you really have to think, how is this going to get used? When you're thinking about characters, you know an elbow is going to bend where the elbow needs to bend. Whereas if you're animating, I'll use this polysporin, it's full, so I can't really do with it what I want to do it. But if you think about toothpaste and like squeezing out the stuff, and then you'd have this like tail. If this was in the animatic, you have to actually think about how this is going to bend and how it's going to get squeezed and how are you going to compress all the stuff. And then you have to also think about cap on, cap off. What does it look like? And do you need to see the cap spinning? Like how much? If it was a feature film,
Yeah.
It's gonna get real gross. Oh, like, can you hear? Like this is the ASMR. You can hear like the liquid. But like if this was feature film and this was a close up, you would actually have to go in and have this very careful, like spinning, turning. You might look at all these like gross hairs on this that is stuck in the thing, but like the little gel, this, I'll use it. So like the squeeze of stuff coming out, like these are all things that you have to start thinking about, and that's hard for people when they've never thought about it before, because these things become so automatic. It's not going to use, or it's not getting wasted on
Yeah.
and that's the difference about props. But you can start thinking about that right now. I would say all you have to do
it helps you as an artist too, like to be more aware of how the reality of the world works. And it's not like, I think, yeah, like not just the, of course, budget. Budget is always like determine like how much detail we can put in it. But if you sometimes when you look at things, you're like, oh, this doesn't make sense, I don't know why. It's because it's not following the law of physics or science. Yeah.
which is the best part about cartoons. You have to really apply, whether it's made up in that world, that's more of like sci-fi stuff,
Yeah.
or if it's the reality of what something actually looks like. Um, but like you can literally, like, a great exercise, and we've had people on our Discord submit prop sheets, and
Mhm.
what we always see is like a whole bunch of props, and like, like a phone, the earbuds, like let's say things that can be found in a purse. Okay, um, got a battery. So here's four things that could be found in a purse, and the thing that usually happens is we'll just see that the four things that are used in the purse, like seen in a purse, um, and they'll just be drawn once. But if that stuff is coming up, if the scene is that stuff coming out of the purse, and then maybe it gets dumped on the table, and then maybe it gets thrown across the room. I don't know. I'm creating a scenario here, and apparently I'm throwing things across the room. But taking it out of the purse, you would only need one view. But getting it like put on the table and kind of maybe moved around, you might need two views. And then if you're using it, so like a phone is a great example, because this has a million views because it's in your hand. Your hand is very flexible. Um, a lot of times, props like this get made in 3D because it's just easier for an artist to have that 3D image or asset, and then they can manipulate it to any angle that they need for their head. This would be more popular if master controllers were happening. Um, and and then they might just rotoscope it. There's a whole bunch of ways to do these things, but you really have to start thinking about the angles. Like, am I here? Am I here? Am I here? Am I here? So those are all like this, this, all three very different views. And so when you start looking at props, that's exactly what it is that you have to do. Um, Mugs with beverages on the inside, or cups. If the
Mhm.
cup is clear, that's a very difficult prop to create. We considered creating a hat for this character. Um, not to give away any of like the purpose of what it is that the character is going to be doing. Um, but we considered creating a hat for this character, and the ultimate decision was a hat's too difficult, because a hat has to be on your head in the same way a coffee mug would have coffee on the inside, and like you can see I'm at the bottom of my coffee, but um, you if this was full, and there is coffee in there. It's empty now, but if this was full, if I tilted it, you would see the extra line of that beverage. And if that had to show up on camera, if it was a close up, we would have to add deformers to the beverage to make sure that it looks like it had fluid in it, and all those kinds of things. It's very fun. Those are my favorite things to do. Caps on and off, lunch pails. That was the example that we looked at in class. Somebody had designed a whole bunch of these beautiful kids' lunches, items that you find in a lunchbox, but there was no open lunchbox. There was no closed lunchbox. It was just, here's the lunchbox. It was a closed lunchbox. But then we said, give us the design where the lid's open. Give us a couple designs for the prop, so that it's we know like what's happening, get a bite taken out of it, um, all those kinds of things. And it's sequential. Like, if you think about it, each one of those happens over time. And oh, did we just lose Michelle? The screen is still there, but we don't see her. So yeah, that's something to think about. Another question. So we are talking about budget. I imagine a little digital clock that times down with every line that's drawn. So is budget just how much time is allowed? Pretty much. Yeah. Like, most of the time you're paying for how much time an artist has to work on something. Because if you think about it, we're paid by day, then we're paid by week, and then we're paid by, month. Um, and so an artist can only work so much in a day. So when you break it down like that, like we always something that we don't talk about a lot is tracking, which we will talk about tracking for sure. Like this, like we've had production classes, and Ayla's phenomenal um, at tracking and creating tracking documents. And like tracking people's work can be very nerve wracking, but it's also very liberating, I find. Once you get over the fear of having your work recorded, nobody's recording work, nobody should be recording work and how much you work to use it against you. People are usually, oh, you're back.
I just went to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Good.
I don't want to stop you. I'm like, what can I do? Oh, be right back.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Oh,
So yeah, so an artist can really only do so many things in a day. And so I think Gibby said that he can do a couple backgrounds in a week. Sometimes it's one background in a day. For rigging, it's basically one character view in a day. There's some wiggle room in there, and like which view it is that you're making, but it averages out to be approximately one view a day. Um, and so that's how we create estimates for time, and then that time turns into a budget. But you would work backwards. So if you have a budget, then you can see how much time you have,
mhm.
and then you try to keep people on schedule and on track, and that's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, budgeting part is hard. It's it's what is it called? Oh, why is Loopkey calling me?
Loopkey's calling you?
Loopkey's calling me. Should
It
I?
might be a pocket dial. Loopkey's famous for pocket dialing.
Oh my god, I'm gonna decline it.
So then yes, so there's another part to this question, I guess. For I don't know how to, it's not really a question. So not saying that you should, but you could just give more in your personal time, not all the time, but say you wanted to do this better. Is this where the supervisor steps in? So this is a hard one. I find this to be a bit controversial. um, I I don't want to say new artists sometimes have to try a little bit harder. Um, but this is kind of what happens. I'm just going to describe what happens. So new artists have to work a little harder to maybe match a style, to maybe fit in with some. Maybe they have to learn some technical skills. There's a quota. If your supervisor and production team are good enough, they can really look at the entire quota and say a junior artist can handle a little bit less work than a senior artist. So like the work wouldn't necessarily be even. Equality never means everybody's treated the same. That's a huge mistake in animation, I think. Um, People have different skills and abilities, and as long as you're matching their level, like there's a window of tolerance for work. As long as you're not overloading somebody with work, and you're letting them have their breathing rooms, and like everybody's different about this stuff. So the number one thing that I think a supervisor should be doing is making sure that you're not burning out when you're working. Um, as for giving your best and doing extra work, I would say that it's controversial to say that a young artist should be expected to do that. These
I
are
don't
like
think
old. These are
yeah,
like older methods that would have definitely been what would have definitely happened, and young artists would sleep under their desks because they
they
were
have more to
trying
prove.
to hit their quota.
Right? Yeah, but I think I in like an ideal world, no one should be like sleeping under their desk to meet a quota. So like a good production team would allow you to fall behind a little bit. Like no one should be like the whole pipeline should still function well with or without one person. Like all the
Yeah.
workload shouldn't just be like on one person. If you're not meeting your quota, find a root problem. Like, is it the style too hard? Is it because they give you too much work? Is it other problems like your personal problems? Is it Like there's a lot of different factors, but like find the root problem and then try to solve it and talk to someone about it. Like your production, someone you can trust in production. Your supervisor is usually the one that you should go to, or your team lead. Bring, like if you don't want to go straight to production, like your project manager or your coordinator, talk to your supervisor. They're the most neutral one because they're not in charge of your of budget, but they're in charge of the team. So they should cater to people more and let them know like why you're not meeting quota. If it's too hard for show style, then like it's the supervisor's job to like teach you how to do something faster. Maybe you're doing a certain way that it's actually not how they are doing it. So there's that. And then also if it's like if they give you too much workload, your supervisor should take some out of you and then distribute it amongst the other teammates. Like don't struggle alone. You're not alone. Like this project, any project would not work from one person suffering. That's yeah. But if you feel like you're falling behind and you have other concerns that you might not, like you're doubting yourself's ability, also talk to someone, talk to anyone on the team. Like why are they doing, like why do you think they're doing better than you? Maybe they have experience that you don't know. Like
Yeah, well, I would say that the biggest concern that I would have in my team is if I saw somebody putting in so much overtime that they were really risking putting themselves into a burnout
yeah,
position. I would basically send them home. I would say stop.
yeah,
I've done that. I've said go home. I'm going home. You're going home. You're not staying later than me. And so that's all depends. If you love a project so much that you wanted to do that much overtime, I would also recommend that you don't. But yeah, like, for the same reason, it becomes really slippery, dangerous territory on an artist's journey. Like you have to really look at your career as a whole path. When you're new and you're learning something, you might be expected to work a little harder and to figure it out, and you might also just want to do that because the faster you kind of get through that hurdle, the more comfortable you're going to be long term. But if you're prolonging that learning process, it's just going to be more of a struggle, and that also sucks. So these are things that you kind of have to see where you're at and how you're feeling.
yeah.
The volume's a bit low. I can adjust it. Um, and so yeah, you just want to monitor. You just it's a constant foot on the gas, foot on the brake. You either want to push a little harder because you're maybe not hitting the quality. That's what's nice about tracking. Once you figure out what makes you comfortable and what you have your baseline, you know when you're flying and you know when you're sinking. And so the goal is just to be consistent. Don't you don't want these spikes. You don't want to work really hard and then work really like then crash. Work really hard and crash.
Mm-hmm.
This is your professional journey. You want to avoid this. You want to learn how to avoid this. So you're just and it just get here. And you figure out where this is, and that's where I think that's where the most successful artists are, is they've figured out
Yeah.
that balance, that act, and
Take breaks.
creates the best work.
Really important. Let your shoulder, your arms take breaks. And coming from someone that has chronic pain for since 2016, the best advice that I can give you, don't work yourself out. Like really.
You have chronic pain? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I might have a herniated disc from overworking. It's again like I was like, "Oh, I love this project. I want to like do more. I want to be faster. I want to be ahead of the team." Or like I feel like I'm not not enough and not doing well, then I'm like, yeah, but at the end of it, you want this to be a career. You don't want this to be a temporary job. So what for me now, it's like after probably 3-4 hours of drawing, that my shoulder gives up, and
Mhm.
I put myself on a limit of things that on the thing that I love doing, and now it's like from overworking, and it's a project that like I don't care about anymore. So you want to think for yourself first, like realistically, like how much you can take and what is going to how is it going to affect you
Mhm.
in the long run. And yeah,
Speaking of,
your health always goes first.
yeah, this is a desk job. And you have to remember that this is a desk job, and your best bet is to, in your free time, get off the computer and go get active. And then that's how you are able to continue to sit at a desk for, forever. And your desk stretches. And that's why I get up in the middle of our classes. In fact, we should be like, I should be getting up right now because we've been sitting for over an hour.
Yeah, set a timer, get up, walk around, do some stretches, and set your computer at a best position. So you don't you don't want to do like this all the time. So set your monitor like up and down. That's better. So if you have your Cintiq over here, set your monitor up here.
Yeah, you can really get into some desk ergonomics if you were to go down that Google route, and eventually you will, because you're sitting and you're like, why do I hurt so
Yeah.
much? Who's it? John? Oh gosh, John Keane.
Hmm.
He's suggested that we could even do a class that if people send in a photo of them sitting and drawing, that he can actually help correct their posture while
Ooh,
they're drawing.
when
And I
when
was like,
happening, I need it.
yeah, yeah. I remember like I remember like I'm like I don't want to I don't want to lift my arm anymore. Like if I lift and I can't lift my arm, I hurt my shoulder this weekend for sure.
Yeah.
But I can't lift my arm and draw. That's not okay. So I have to actually keep my arm on the table, but then I'd have to get like a mouse pad to have like that cushion, because then I would start to pinch a nerve in
Mm.
the bones of my arm.
Ooh.
Um, and little things like that. So like artist health is a big deal. And Torrin said, and this is true, Torrin, what you this is good. Apparently for eye strain, every 20 minutes take 20 seconds and look away, and you're supposed to look about 20 feet away
Mm.
from you. So like you're supposed to look 20 feet for 20 seconds just so you break screen, whatever radiation is coming off your
Yeah.
monitor, Cintiqs, whatever. It's all there. Blue light. It's not good for you.
Hmm. Yeah, we think that like, oh, it's not a big deal if my eyes are not tired, but actually it affects your brain. It's I have a friend, he had a concoction, so he had to really limit his screen time. It actually like it if you feel like you have a migraine or you have headaches, it's all coming from looking at the screen for too long. And the brightness that you have in your room for me, because I do design and background and color all the time, so I'm usually 90-80% of the time I'm in pitch dark. I have a blackout curtain that covers it, but like this is doing this now. You see lights outside because it's fine for props because we already have color, so I'm not creating new color. I'm just picking and using, so I don't need it to be pitch dark. But um, that it's also not like the best for your eyes because that's like your screen is the only light source that's coming out. So have some lights that like around you that doesn't affect your screen light, but have like I have like a LED light set up on my under my desk, so I have lights in the bottom, and then like sometimes I have lights like far away from me. So yeah. Any other questions?
Artist health is pretty radical if you think about it. I kind of love it.
We can keep
And
talking.
like what you could do to tweak your, yeah, and you just in the first year you're not going to think about these things, but in your fifth year you're going to start thinking about these things, and in your 10th year you start to live by these things.
Yeah, I think it's
And if you start to live by these things a little sooner, I think that might even be better.
yeah.
But I think that artists can prevent burnout completely, and you can just set yourself at cruise control, and love your work.
Yeah.
I think that that's very possible for people, and the only way to not have burnout is you have to prevent it. It's the only
Yeah.
way. You can't avoid it. You have to prevent it. You can't change. I mean, you can change it. You have to prevent it. You have to take those steps.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw a question like what comes 1st,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
background or storyboards. So we get when we starting of a project, we do some key designs. Like we get the script. Script always comes first. We get scripts and then we do some key designs. We get some like main location that it's probably not all the angles, but we design some of the main location. It doesn't have to be like approved, but also character as well. All the main characters that it usually gets designed first because that's the brainstorming stage. It's the most fun at that point because you can just keep pumping ideas and ideas gets turned down and turned down and then do it again. But in the same time, like storyboards will start. So they might sometimes storyboards might end up using old design that you have to just like swap out. So um, yeah, so to sum it up is design um if there is uh, a healthy amount of times in in the production, design should come first, at least like a little bit ahead of storyboards, but then they're basically simultaneously together. And then what
There's a
else?
lot of overlap. We had a lot of back and forth when we were designing the pipeline for the short. And even then, we had to create more. We had to create another design, but design has been dominating our count. Like, and it just really, I think it just really goes to how much you have to pre-plan your animation. I think when you're learning how to do this, you just go one step at a time, and you basically just you do it as you get. What is it called? You animate. Not straight ahead animation. When you don't really plan out your keyframes and you just go for it, when you're creating an entire production. I think that when you don't know how to work within a team, you have to do that to an extent. And I mean, even I made the mistake of not, but I knew that there would be a mistake, and I created the space for it, which we're using, and it went to design. So I think design has been half in 2 months. We've had 5 design classes, and everything else has been very strategic. So it's once we know what the design is, then we can do the boards. We couldn't do the boards until we had the stage design, and we couldn't do the boards until we had the character design, and we can't get to animation if we don't have the rig completed, which is my next panic. I have to make sure that we have our rig created so that we can start animating in like 2 weeks.
Oh
So
wow, in
I
2 weeks.
I know
Yeah.
it's actually not even in 2 weeks. It's next week. So
Oh damn.
Chris is gonna start animating next week, and but we have to get the rig done, and we've had enough technical issues with our YouTube that we're not quite as far as we were hoping to be. So tomorrow's YouTube is going to be a mad dash to get the whole thing done. But it means the expressions will not be added to the rig. We'll have to add those in after, which is fine. Which is fine. So yeah, productions, they're alive, and you are constantly tweaking them to help them develop. Ooh, look at this go.
Yay, curtains. Sorry, it was I was too concentrated and talking. Like I could have stopped this a long time ago. Like it doesn't take that long to do this curtain. It just me kept talking. Yeah, so we got a left and right. Like Lindsay said, they can change the lines uh in what's it called? Again, my brain. I can't talk and work in the same time. Yeah, Lindsay said that we can change it up, so I'm just gonna leave it like that then. Uh, do we want shadows
Um, what would that look like? What does a shadow look like? What do you mean? Like in the folds?
in the folds? Yeah,
I don't know. Would that be difficult?
I
I don't know.
fast shadow.
Let's see.
It's not gonna look like that. I'm just like roughly like this.
Can't see it. It's pretty small on my screen.
Oh yeah, I can make them big.
We'll just zoom in.
Yep.
When you're ready. No rush. I don't have to rush you.
Don't rush me.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't know if I like that. But you know what I would like if we were to do shadows instead of that, almost like creating the dynamic of more shadows with the bottom heavy.
Oh yeah.
So instead of duplicating the lines, maybe at the very bottom and some of the short ones, just making a shadow like it's more of like a triangular shape. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, that would probably look more appropriate. What I'm actually I'm thinking about, how am I rigging this?
Yeah.
I'm not rigging this, but if I'm rigging this, how am I rigging this?
You're not doing it, but I am.
Nobody wants to see me rig anymore. I'm too slow. But in my head, I'm thinking I would just create the bottom of this curtain as a separate layer with all these lines attached to it, and then have the three walls of the curtain as its own thing, and then the bottom is where I keep everything, and then that way that's where my main deformer is, and that way the lines are always connected to the bottom, and then the shadows could look like that. Like that looks. I think that looks good. That to me looks like there's weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
think it's just
yeah,
like no shadow. It doesn't look complete.
yeah,
And we can turn down the shadow. It doesn't have to be 100%.
yeah. That looks great. That looks great. You
Hey.
know when you don't like something, you know when you like something. You want to always follow those. Whatever you just saw it right through me.
Yeah.
You follow those. Okay.
I'll put some on the top too, as that's where the.
Yeah, Ross, I want to know, what is it that you do? What is it that you are currently focusing on? Because I also have some very strong opinions on like, and how long have you been in the animation industry? That's a very important part. Important part of the.
Oh, for me,
Oh wait, no, Michelle, you keep working. This is a
oh,
question for Ross.
oh, okay.
He's asked a question. He's asking about like, should they expand their skill sets and knowledge, but it depends on where you are in your career, because if you're too young and you're too junior of an artist, if you expand instead of specializing, I think that you risk losing a lot of skill. So I always think that you should continue to specialize until you've really gotten something under control and understand, and then you can kind of broaden. So those are my 2 cents. I think that you.
I think before you get actually like get your foot in the industry, you can learn as many as you want because you don't really know what you're gonna end up be doing. I know you have like an idea, like oh, I want to do design, but when I was in school, I didn't know that I wanted to do background. It's just the first job that landed on me, and then in yeah, when I was in school, I thought I'm gonna be a character designer, but
Mhm.
and then after job is like, oh, I actually like background more. So um I think you if you basically could try out more things. If you're like, oh, I might like 3D, then you can try to get a 3D job. And if you're like, oh, I actually don't really like 3D, I want to go back to design, then I think it just comes from like it comes down on the like, what do you actually like doing? And um it doesn't hurt to have more skills in your basket, because I've been in this industry for, I graduated 2013, so and I started working before I graduated. My first job was 2012. So 12 years. And um being in 2D, I'm going to take a 3D course next week. So it doesn't
I'm
hurt to,
excited for that.
yeah, it doesn't hurt to have more eggs in your basket if you can, if you're mentally capable of observing all the information. So yeah, but like Lindsay said, to start, you probably want to focus on, choose the one that you love the most and focus on it, and be at least like 80, 70 or 80% good at it before you're like putting on too much on yourself. Because
Mm-hmm.
if, like, in school I learned how to do like um 3D stuff, and then After Effects, special and animation, but like I don't like doing any of that. So yeah, at the end, just like find the one you love the most, and then try to perfect it as much as possible, and then go learn something else when you have the mental capability and financial capability.
Um, and Ross, have you joined our Discord? Because this is why we have a Discord. So you can start sharing your skills with us, and we'll let you know what you have to work on. And I'm dropping the link in the chat for you to join if you haven't. But this is literally what we do. There is, we help people. We really show them where they are within their skills, what they need to work on, but also what you're doing really good at. And there are so many different positions. Yeah, once you get into a job, the goal is the hardest part is getting your first job.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get your first job, then you are okay. So we have to see your work. You have to share. This is the problem with our lurkers. We have such a big lurking crowd, but we need, yeah, you gotta throw your work in the ring. You gotta show us in the pre-professional design reviews, or whatever channel department that you want to work on, but under the pre-professional reviews department and channel. And we'll help you. We'll tell you where you should focus, where you need to kind of sharpen your skills. If you're tackling a whole department really good, then you can start to follow like other. I always think that artists should kind of be working on 2 things, but when artists are working on 5 things, it's too much.
Yeah.
I don't like. We try not to encourage people to be working on every single department unless you're really creating your own short and you're trying to go through the whole pipeline. Like that's really the only reason why you should be doing everything. Because in the animation industry, you'll probably go farther if you specialize in a skill before you become a generalist. There's a lot of students, they just, well, I think it's like, I just get bored of doing the same thing all the time. But as a professional, you have to start working with that. And that is where you'll become and you'll develop into a real pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, now I've got another lurker coming out. When I've gone to shows and I've met people, they're on the server and they said they've never posted. They're just lurking. They're just checking it out. And like, that's great.
It's really rare to have that many professionals in one setting that actually like wants to give you feedbacks. And it's kind of like, even if you're in the industry and if you talk to your supervisor, like they may not have time to do like one-on-one kind of thing with you. So the resource is there, use it.
Great. I don't understand this comment, Ross. You're nervous because if your work looks professional enough for this, and that I have a seriously bad problem with finishing anything. So is your work good, or do you have a problem finishing things? Because hello, we all have ADHD. We all have problems finishing things. Again, this is these are the skills that must be developed. I get nervous about wasting someone's time. Ah, there we go. That's yes, but you know what? We're giving you our time. This is why we're here. And we needed this time too. We needed this time. So I actually hear that a lot. People don't want to, people don't want to waste our time. And you know how you don't waste our time? You show up prepared. That's how you don't waste a professional's time. You want to have, you want to, we're still working on our department guidelines. I'm not going to say they're the clearest. I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to promote how to ask for help, what kinds of questions that you can ask help for, depending on what department are you in? Ross, what department are we talking about right now? Can we have a clear example so that I can, is it designs? Is it rigging? Is it animation?
Sorry.
If your work looks bad, then what you need is someone to tell you what you're doing good. Because if you think your work is bad and you're afraid to show it to anybody, the first step is you have to show your work. You have to get over that. And that is the hardest part. But once you rip that Band-Aid, and I'm all about ripping Band-Aids, it's this torture. You will grow that much faster. And what we don't want to see is you posting a million photos after each other and you kind of hog the chat. So stick with one, find one. You're storyboarding, so find your favorite sequence or a sequence that you really want to finish. Like, don't choose a sequence that you don't want to work on again. Choose a sequence that you have a specific problem where I don't know if this is reading. I don't know if this is clear. Torin just did our storyboarding class. We won't have one next month in August, but we will have one again in September. And so if you've got until September to pick like what could be your whatever it is that you want to upload, and then just try to get a clear question for the mentor, because it's really hard for us to, what's the hardest part is if you just put the artwork in front of us, don't say anything, and then we have to use our imagination. What do we tell this person? And that is really hard for a lot of the mentors. I've heard that a lot. But if you can show up, if you can talk to the mentor, you can have that little conversation, they will do a really good job of telling you what you're doing good at and where you need improvement. And I don't think anybody's been mean about it. It's been really wonderful. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback where, and these are literally things that happen at work. Like, you only have these interactions when you get your first job and you start talking to your supervisor. And if you've got a good supervisor, your supervisor is going to start to monitor your work, monitor your workflow, give you the notes that you need to succeed, and then you start to internalize those notes. And you're going to hear the same thing over and over again, and that's kind of the goal. Because if you were at work doing this for 40 hours a week, you'd be getting the same notes over and over again. I make fun of Bryn all the time because she worked on my team. I would give her the same notes over and over again. I'd get frustrated that she wasn't internalizing them. But we worked together for years. We worked together for years, and I was still giving her the same notes. But that also reflected as me as a supervisor. I didn't quite know how to get her past that note. But I also at the time didn't know what I was looking for. So hence, eat your peas. Hence, we're teaching people how to give notes, but also helping people absorb those notes. So there'll be more notes. There's always notes in the future. Waste our time. I dare you.
I think it's also good to keep in mind that don't fall in love with your drawing too much in a production setting. Like, don't get too attached. It's gonna get changed. It's gonna get revision, and I think at the end of the day, in a good if you get like a good team, all we wanted to do is to make the production, the final product better. So there shouldn't be any egos about like, I don't know. It's just yeah, it's hard to say. I understand the fear that you're probably worried about like wasting people's time, but like that's what we're here for, right? Like we're here to give you our time that you're not wasting. It's
Mhm.
it's already
And
there.
and the thing that I've really realized too, and the thing that I'm the most excited about, and ERPs is still very new, so we're still kind of figuring it out. Our classes aren't that big, which is great because I think it gives a very up, it gives a very intimate, uh, detailed responses for your actual work. Like a lot of students get like 10 minutes of talk time with a professional, which is a lot. Which can be a lot. You can get a lot of information from a professional in 10 minutes. Sometimes it's too much. So it's like we really want to give bite-sized, like I'm excited for the mentors to be challenged to have bigger stuff to go through because then they'll have to say less. And they'll have to figure out ways to say less to stay on point. But which is the hardest. That's the hardest. That's why I love these
Yeah.
long form
That's
talking
yeah,
methods because we don't have to do that.
That's the thing about creative mind. Like it goes everywhere. Like
Yeah.
I had a point from the beginning, and then after a bit, it's like, oh, where did the point go? I started talking something else. So that's why I can't draw and talk in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got one straight
Okay.
in
Yeah.
here. Yeah, and then I got the curtain left and right. Is that all we needed?
Are we doing the middle one?
Are we doing the? I can do the middle one. Yeah.
Are we just doing a guide? I don't think it has to be perfect.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just to have the guide.
Yep, we can do
for
that.
Damon. And then can you do a long rope when it's totally closed? I think that's all we would need. I think that would be.
Is this not
the one that you did draw? No, the one, or sorry, totally open?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Totally closed. Totally closed. So that the long, that one right there, you do that, but like it crosses all the way to the.
So like
the chat has gone. We've got more. I'll answer some questions, but there's definitely one in here that I'll need you to answer.
Yeah, yeah. So how many stages do you need? You need the one that it's like the flat long one, and then one that it's like holding the curtains, right? So these two, or do you want closer? Like a more.
Let's call the totally open stage 3 because it's like closed and then we open them. So like the closed is stage 1. So that would need a rope that just goes all the way across because that's what we would technically get pulled, right? I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get what you mean. Okay.
That's what I thought we were doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we didn't do
that. The band, and then the band effect, and then the one in the middle would just be a good guide for Damon. So that, but I mean, the board does it too. So and like I said, we're going to be animating it, I think, in that way. That way it looks a little bit nicer. We'll probably have to pop into the third drawing, but I think we can go from the first stage to the second stage, and then we pop into the third. There's no way we'd be able to go from stage 1 to stage 3 with technology. It would look awful.
So you want the rope that it's always there. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
And then we can use the deformers to pull that.
Yeah.
Stretch it back. Okay. What's an entry level background painting job?
Entry level, I guess it will just be a junior
painting. Background positions.
Any background positions. I don't think there's like a specific title. If you see a background painting job, just apply.
If you wanted to work on a background portfolio, what would you want to see, Michelle?
Oh yeah.
If it was an entry level position that they're applying for, what would a portfolio look like?
It's some. It would be drawings that showcase your style, your ability, and your understanding of lights. Oh, if it's applying for, I'll just speaking of like in general in layout, a good perspective and understanding of um light and shadow. So like basically like how good you are with understanding the nature of science and physics, like why like if you do a portfolio, show some focus on pieces that are really good perspective drawing, and then you can have that one design and then paint it and choose like a time of day, um, and then you can do different time of days. So if you have a painting of your bedroom, for example, make sure that the perspective works, and then change the mood of that same location in painting. So it could be, yeah, it could be like sunny day, so it's all like fun and sparkly, many um, higher contrast color, softer edges for shadows, and you can change the mood to like nighttime, more blue, purple. You can have some moonlight hitting into the room, or you can have like a pitch dark night or with thunderstorms and stuff. There's all like with one drawing you, of one with one design. If you're applying for a painting job, you can do a lot of things with it. Yeah.
And show it to us on Eat Your Piece. Like keep
yeah,
us updated with your progress, because we'll also make sure that you don't want to do all this work and then have to redo it because of a couple basic mistakes.
yeah,
What's really nice about putting your work in front of professionals is they're going to show you where the basic mistakes are, and you can fix them very quickly. But if you put too much effort into a lot of stuff, which does happen a lot with artists,
mm-hmm.
they want to dive in. And often the way to fix something is to add more. And no, don't do that. Stop. No, that's the mark of somebody who's still learning. So you have to learn how to interrupt and prevent your own mistakes. Really, is that's the secret to learning, is you're preventing your own mistakes. But if you don't know what your mistakes are, you can't prevent them. So I think that's what I love about what we do, is we're constantly teaching people to see and notice their own mistakes so that they can start to overcome them. And as supervisors, that's what we would do.
Mm-hmm.
So um, for iteration, I think that, like, again, draw the same thing from different angles. Like if you're doing that bedroom assignment,
different angles,
different. And again, this is something that we will hopefully we'll be able to have whole packages where we could teach people about this kind of stuff, like what you need as for these jobs, and what these skills that you need for these for shows. Like hopefully we can actually show you some clear examples. That's why we're making a short, so that we can start with something. This is all useful, and everything that you do is useful. So like even if you're making a bunch of mistakes, that's great, because that's really what's showing you where you are, what it is that you do naturally, and where you have to start interrupting yourself. And perspective is very hard.
yeah,
But I also love perspective. If I was to be an artist, as a drawing artist, I would have been an architect. I would have gone into drafting.
oh
I
nice.
loved the rulers where you had to, like, you could flip them and you'd have the different measurements and the different styles and converting everything. Yeah, if I would have been drawing blueprints. That's for sure. if I was to follow my heart into that direction.
I was gonna be a pimple doctor.
A what doctor? Did you say a pimple doctor? Like you want to just pop pimples for the rest of your life? Okay.
That took a turn.
I'm writing that down. I've got a challenge for you.
I was like,
I'm always looking for social media posts, and you just gave me an idea.
I was like, what? Yeah, someone asked me like, what were you gonna do if you weren't in art? I'm like, oh, I want a job that I just pop pimples all the time.
I took a one of those one of those tests. I was in grade school. I took one of those tests, and it tells you like what you could be when you were growing up. It was like one of those job tests, and it's supposed to inspire you to do whatever. But it told me I could design playgrounds or I'd be putting the paper on crayons.
Oh.
I was like, in my head, I already knew. I was like, I'm gonna aim higher for that than that. Although the playground designer sounded really cool, but I don't think that's a lot.
Yeah.
Marine biologist, junk dealer, or a marine biologist. Aptitude test. Yes, that's exactly. I took an aptitude test.
Aptitude test. I think mine said that, oh, you can be a psychologist. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Nobody would have told me to be a psychologist.
I mean, it's fun for like people observing, but it's not as fun as popping the.
I've got a special job for you, Michelle.
Oh no, this is gonna be recorded. It's
this is all live. This is now. I don't know how, but somebody's gonna make a short out of this, a shorty, and that's what I want. Please make a short out of Michelle saying that about what she wants to be when she grows up.
Yeah. Totally different than what I'm doing right now.
There isn't anything more fun than popping pimples. I will admit. I don't hate it. I don't hate it either. I can honest. That's a. Anyway, we're not going there.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine to drop it.
but you know what's really funny about Eat Your Peas is I actually didn't like eating peas for the longest time. Peas were really a vegetable that I had to learn to love, and I really learned to eat peas during the pandemic. Just because they're so healthy, and like my sister's was a health nut and vegan, and like, she's a bodybuilder, so she was always trying to get protein. And so I realized peas are really a superfood. And but I wouldn't eat peas when I was younger because I always thought that they felt like pimples popping in my mouth. Like that to me is the visual when I eat peas, which is nasty. Nasty. So I didn't eat peas for a long time, for like 35 years.
I still don't like peas.
Yeah. You learn to love your vegetables. That's kind of the.
Nah, we have other good things to eat. We don't need peas.
So for this shadow, I wouldn't worry too much about what it is that you're doing right now, because I can guarantee you what we're probably going to do is create some sort of mask, and we're just going to reuse the rope. So it'll be the same. We'll add a blur to it so it wouldn't be so matchy. It'd be fuzzy and like trying to hide it, but we'll probably add a blur, and that way when it's deformed, the shadow would deform with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is pretty much what it is.
Delicious. Popping boba peas. Ooh, I can't do the boba pea beverage. I never. No.
No. I think we can stop in the with the.
He needs to talk about something else. That's also one of the reasons why I love the ideas of the peas, because like they're kind of gross in a great way. The visuals are gross.
Yeah, I think we're okay with what we have then.
Okay. Show us stage 2.
Yeah.
Wasabi peas are great. Those are Those are tasty.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's stage.
I've got a couple pea recipes that I haven't, that I'm actually looking forward to sharing online.
What stage did you want to call this again?
That would be stage 3, I think. Open.
Yeah. I'll change this. 3, and this is.
I love how organized your layers are.
Yeah, I kind of it annoys me when layers are not organized, because if I get someone's file and I'm like, what is this? Then
Mm-hmm.
SR means screen right, and then SL is screen left. Just,
Okay.
just so everyone knows.
I'll probably forget.
Oh.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Do your thing. We'll figure it out when we get there. It's 3 classes away from me, so I'm like barely thinking about that.
Alright, so we're doing a stage 2. Let me duplicate stage 1. Anything that we can use to make our life easier, you will do the cheats. Let's see. But because it's not one layer, so I can't use the warp tool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do this and then warp it. You can add more if you need. Not too much. So when it pulls, it will be pulling like this.
Yeah, and we'll pinch it. We'll make it look better. Like we will draw this in between, but just to have the guide there will help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
and then even yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like an animation thing. Like if you think of like where is it polling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
contact,
if you undo that, what I would do before you do that, you undo the squish of the rope.
Undo the squish of the rope.
Yeah, because you just squished it down, like to be a little lower, a little smaller.
Yeah.
I would take the whole rope and I would pull it back a little bit and then squish it. So you're not squishing the whole thing.
Pull it back.
Yeah. Keep going. A little more. Yeah. No, not 100%. Somewhere in the middle. Yeah. And then squish it. Because then you get the pulling action. Because now it's going to look like it's pulling.
Ah.
Instead of just being squished.
Yeah. I was going to redraw it, but it's okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Either way. Yeah. I didn't know.
Either way. Yeah. It works.
We'll be redrawing it too. I mean, kind of. We're not even redrawing it. We're going to use the deformers. So.
Yeah. So yeah, then it's like, where is it polling and how is it polling? Where is the weight coming from? So if you, yeah, this is more like an animation thing. So doing props, you also need to think about these things. Then this could be stage 2, and then do you need a stage 2.2? We're good.
No, just an in-between stage is fine, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, then the rest of it is just the animator's job to know things. Yeah.
We only have to get it halfway good. They have to make it look good.
Yeah. Come back to this point. But then the contact point is not the same. Is that okay? Or I can shorten it. Let me see. Let's go back to stage 1. Where is it? what she looks like.
I feel like the curtains at the end are like when they're totally open, are they too far in? Like, should we extend them? Because we can also do this in props. Like, you don't have to make this change. We could, because you've already drawn all this. But I feel like we could extend.
When it's totally open, it's too far. Yeah.
Well, can you bring the other totally open curtain out? Oh, can you see both? Stage 1 and stage 3.
One and stage 3.
So see how stage 1, it's almost like stage 1 is too short.
Oh yeah.
No, it's not stage 1. Stage 3. It's like the open is too short. So, but I can get Damon to fix that. You don't have to fix that. I'll just give him that note. We'll just,
stage 3.
When we go to remake these in Harmony, we'll just add that extra. Like we'll do that. We'll build that.
Yeah. Or
you can do that. That works. If that works for you, that works.
Yeah, I can do it now. Has it changed the line weight? Not as much. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can make those adjustments real easy. Well, I mean, you just did too, so.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to worry about it. That's what's nice about going backwards in the pipeline and fixing these mistakes when they happen.
Yay. There you go.
Issue prevented.
Issue prevented. Very good. So stage 2, this part, I think it sticks out too much, right? Cut it. And then should be to open now. Is anyone confused what we're doing? Is everyone okay?
Nobody's saying they're confused.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna keep doing this then.
No, it's working. It's fine.
Yeah. So I need to move this a little more.
We're about to hit our 2-hour mark. How are you feeling?
I think we're pretty much done with the. Yeah. So it doesn't take 2 hours to do this. We've just been like talking.
No, we talked a lot. Yeah.
Do I need this? No.
We're all marveling at the process. I can't do this. I can't. I can trace so well. That's the challenge will be for Damon, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna be fine with it. With the middle, I hope you guys can't hear somebody's got some big heavy machinery outside. But the challenge for him will be to recreate the middle transition curtain so that it looks accurate. But like as a prop builder, you kind of learn how to do those things. You always try to, so that'll be really good challenge for him to see that. Mm-hmm. And we'll make it look a little bit more like the storyboard, and it's so cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're for stage 2. We're just giving an example of what it could look like. Mm-hmm. And then that's up to the animator to actually use what we give them to do mm-hmm. all the actual beautiful work. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. we want to just double check everything. So there's a stage three.
I think I'm going to be issuing a challenge because one of the things that we need for this show, which we didn't get to do, but that's okay. I think that this is going to be easy enough. Is I might issue a challenge where we invite the community to help us design our rose prop. And we've got so many people here asking, how do you do a variation? How do you do so? What I think we'll do is I'll provide, and I have to do this because we also don't have a name for our P. But
That was P.
I think the name for the P will come later. I'm not really worried about naming the P.
Not Pete.
Right now.
Is he not Pete? Pete the P?
We don't have. We haven't really. I don't know. Somebody said. PP. PP the P. And I actually kind of like that. But it wasn't. I don't. Maybe it was Torin that actually said that, but it wasn't necessarily. I don't know. This P doesn't have a name. It's performance P in a way, because they're on center stage and perhaps performing. But does the P actually need a name? How many P's are there? We're gonna find out. Stay tuned. Pete Davis, no.
Pete Davis. Pete
sounds like something I'm pretty sure you did say that, Torn. It made me laugh, and if it made me laugh, I was like, that's probably good. But what we should do, what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is because we do need a rose. So what I'll probably do is issue a little prop challenge and have people design the rose and get a little bit of a crowdsourced help.
That sounds fun.
And practice, because we need at least one view. But as I mentioned, as cell phones, once you put something in your hands, it becomes very active. So we would need we could use a lot of views for a prop, and that could be just a fun challenge to see how many views we get back, and then how do we organize that information. I mean, that's a challenge for us, and how to learn how to do something, and yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah. So just an explanation what I'm doing here. After I turn on the field guide of where the props is going to be, it looks like the curtain it's like not protrude out enough to cover the background.
Okay.
So I just pulled it out a bit further from the side. So
real professionals use guides.
Yeah. Always just like cross-reference check everything that if it's available. Yeah, it's always good to check. Yeah, and I changed the center point to over here, so like yeah, when it pulls, is not changing the as much.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I think we're okay now. It's gonna be different when you actually throw it in camera and look at it and then all that. Like, yeah, I think for now she's okay. Cool. Yeah, so let's open her and see what happens. So stage 1 and then 2.
Aww.
And then 3. Ta-da! It would be
perfect.
Yeah, it would be nice to have some on the top too, but it's okay.
Another day.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today. That's a background.
Not this month. Not on the summer challenge.
Yeah, so it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're pretty good. Save your save your project and that. Lindsay, how do you want me to save it? As a PNG or a PDF? Because I could.
Can you save it as can I get both? Can I get the Michelle did especially a great job. Can you save a like obviously the PSD file, but then can you also give me 3 PNGs of the curtains opening, closing?
You don't want them to be side by side? I can do them side by side and have a character there. Which one's easier?
No, because 3 PNGs, because we've already got the field guide, and because each image would be like if this was going to a real production and we wanted to show like the effect of them opening, I would say side by side would be good. But because what we do is we take those PNGs and they'll just be imported into Harmony as 3 sequential images, and then that becomes our prop. It's like the best way to build something. So this would be yeah, this would be considered stage 1.
Yeah, what I could do is I'll leave this.
Yeah, perfect. There we go. Excellent. That's a great idea. And then stage 2, and that each one of these would be its own image, right? And then when we import it with, could you import the field guide? On one of them? It doesn't have to be, just so that so we have the scene reference. It could be on a separate. Because we can do this in several ways. We can actually import it as a PDF and then have all these layers. We could just turn off on and on these layers, or we import them as PNGs. Either one, it's fine.
I could do the stage 1 and then
the PNG, the Torin. That's a good joke. I'm writing it down. It's going on my social media list of ideas. This is truly a team effort.
I need this to be. Why am I doing? Sometimes I do things too backward. Like, why am I doing that and that? Okay. From the beginning.
This weekend I bought a PFD, not a PNG. And then I fell. I didn't use it. I tried writing this down. I can't write. Like, I can't write at all. F P N G F D. Is my favorite. What's your favorite file format? You got it.
There's such thing as favorite file format.
I'm making it up. I'm making it up.
Here and then export. These are the thumbnails that I made for Guy.
The thumbnail. So you know what it is? This thumbnail, doing the thumbnails is more of a Flash. This is like a throwback to Flash. In Flash, because artwork was vectorized, you could scale your images 100 times. But with Harmony, I think the thumbnails were always good just to see an overall view, but they become less important because we have to build so strictly to size and to scale. So when we have the full image that's like properly sized to a camera, it made it really easy for us to import the image, and then you start. I mean, you double check. You always double check. But if your sizing was to line up, like if you get that magic right, and you don't have, when you import your image, you don't have to like change your images. That saves a lot of time. It's really nice, but it's not always not always possible.
Yeah. So should I not have them? Do you?
Well, you've already done the work, so yeah, you should do it.
I'll just leave it in there. Because what I was thinking is, when you build this curtain, you're not using both sides. So when I export it, I need to turn it off. So the thumbnail is there to show that like they need to be left and right. So how do you want me to display them? Is it okay here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you've already done it.
Oh yeah. And then I'm just having.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll save this as a PNG. Sorry.
Yeah, your two thumbnails are backwards. Sorry. Not nitpicking.
There you go.
And then with the field guide, that will, yeah. Just, you know what? Just turn the field guide on, and then that way we know how big that crop is, and we can work with that. That's fine. We can see around it. We won't be building the field guide, but we can work with that.
This is one. And then two. Tree. Well, three is different, so I'm just gonna leave them. Okay. Good. And then let me go back to my PSD files. So I got all the PNG files done. Now I need to organize my PSD files. I mean, you don't have to do that. I just do it because it hurts me if I don't.
What's your favorite way to organize a PSD?
Name and color. Perfect naming and having different color in here helps too. Character and have it in order of how you want people to look at, like what's important. Like storyboards is more important than a rough character, so I put it over top. And then these are part of the background, so I'll just leave it all in there as well, but in the lower just lower priority because they need to be in the background too. And and delete all the empty layers. No one likes empty layers.
That's true.
Yeah. And I think that would be turn back on all the layers that I turned off. Yeah. And then that's it for a PSD file. Yeah. Okay. And then
that's perfect.
Yeah. And then I save, and then she's good.
And then I have one last question for you.
Yes.
What are you most nervous about going back to school next week? Because Torin asked where you were working, and you're not working, but you're going back to school. So what would you say is the most nerve-wracking thing about going back to school? Because it's like, it could be your second career. You could be transitioning into 3D, which I don't want you to, but okay. I respect it.
No, I think it's so the whole reason why I'm going back to learning 3D is because my last job my our show is part 2D and part 3D. And even though when they hire me, they know that I don't know 3D, but our show it's like more the background that on our show it's more 2D focused, so they they're okay with me not having that knowledge, but it frustrates me to not knowing. So that's why I wanted um, to further educate myself. Like I don't. I think it's a personal thing. I don't like asking people for help if I could do it myself.
Mhm.
And the nerve wracking part, it's probably just like remembering all the hotkeys because I'm relearning an entire new program.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Your muscle memory.
yeah. So it's because I'm so used to everything with Photoshop, and learning 3D is like a completely different thing. But at least I need to learn the basic. I'm taking modeling, surfacing, and lighting. It's just another tool in my basket that I can do my job better. So I'm not, I don't like 3D that much. So I'm not going to transition into 3D. I just wanted to become another tool so I can do my 2D job better. Yeah. So that was that.
Nice. Are you going into campus? Like, do you have to go into class, or do you do it online?
It's a online course
Okay.
once a week. Yeah.
Oh,
But
nice.
I get I will get assignments and I'm gonna get homework and I get a my like a free Maya license for a year,
Mhm.
so I can practice. I'm not doing what's it called? I'm not promoting that program because I don't know yet. I've never taken it yet, so I couldn't say that I would recommend or not. So we'll see. Check with me after 7 weeks, and I'll let you know how that goes.
Program? That's not bad. That's not
Yeah,
bad. Once a week? That's only 7 classes. That's
yeah.
easy.
So it's like an intro. It's mostly for me to understand the basic of like how do I move a camera? How do I add in a new camera in 3D? And like what is like how do I literally just like close the Maya file, opening it and get into it and check things. Yeah. I don't expect coming out as a pro. So
You're already a pro.
well, not a 3D pro. I don't expect to come out as a 3D pro. So, but
I have a feeling. I have a feeling you're more professional than you are talking about yourself. If I know anything about artists and how we like to talk about our own skills, pretty sure you're gonna do a lot better than you think
yeah,
you are. Yeah. Let other people tell you how you're doing. Don't forget.
I'll I'll let my teacher be like, "Hey, you're actually like doing all this wrong." I'll be like, "Ah." I'll be like, "Yeah, but it probably look better if I do it this way." And she's like, "Nah, nah, nah." I'll be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. And then we got a comment. I succeeded in 2D rigging and animation learning harmony because I had 3D knowledge from school. So the programs are very similar but very different. So if you can wrap your head around 3D, you can wrap your head around 2D, and if you can wrap your head around 2D, you'll be able to wrap your head around 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hoping for me. My brain doesn't like having too many things in the same time, so we'll see.
All right. Well, I guess we should wrap it up there. That's perfect time. And thank you so much, Michelle. Take a bow. A big one. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, and let us know if you have further questions about this. And yeah,
Join us on Discord. Wait, I do. There we go. I popped the. If you're not on Discord yet, please join us and lurk as long as you need to. But you're gonna learn more when you start sharing your work. So feel free. Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm gonna end the broadcast in 3,